Welcome, everyone, to episode 116 of the Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name's Kevin. I'm here with Doug. We do not have Owen this week, but we are sort of talking about Marvel's new movie, Thunderbolts. I'll explain that in a bit, but first, as always, we're going to talk about what we watched this past week. As we mentioned last week, we were supposed to be talking about the Shrouds this week. That episode is going to come out next week, actually, because Owen is not able to make it this week, as you can see. So when Owen is able to join the pod next week, they will be talking about the Shroud. Sadly, I won't be here next week. So I'll kick off what I watched this past week by mentioning that I rewatched The Shroud since I won't be there next week to talk about it. Doug and I off pod were talking about the fact that it's pretty much just the best movie of the year so far. I essentially agree.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I love Sinners as well. There are other movies that I am really vibing with this year. I know the talk about this year has been that it's disappointing, and I don't disagree. I think for the most part, there is not a ton of exciting stuff this year, but there are like four movies that I have genuinely loved, and The Shrouds is right up there with the rest of them. I know I kind of freed myself from my chains recently, and just um for people who follow me on Letterboxd, in the past, every year I would have my year ranked list, right? As most people do from the top to
Right.
the bottom. This year, I decided to take a different approach to that list and just only put my favorite movies of the year on a list and just not rank everything else. But recently, I just fucking deleted that shit. I said no ranking list at all. I
Yes,
said,
you have
I
freed
said,
yourself of your
yeah,
chains.
I
No,
literally said
having
no
having,
list
like
whatsoever. I mean, maybe at the end of the year I will put to, or no, maybe not even at the end of the year, but just later in the year after I've seen enough movies, I will still put together a list of like, here's my favorites, like rough ranking for when people are just having these types of conversations. Obviously, we're gonna do
but,
a
like,
mid-year type of report episode where we talk about our favorites, so I will need it for that.
having the
But
list where it's every time you watch a new movie, you, like, add it to this huge list is, like,
yeah,
I think that's mental illness, bro. That is, like, so bad for
yeah,
you.
it is very like it's a very letterbox specific problem. It's a very like we make TikTok specific problem. Yeah, it's not a problem that I want to have. And so that's why I was like I don't know if The Shrouds is technically my favorite movie of the year, but I don't know what technically my favorite movie of the year is. I think there are like four movies that are all in total contention for that title, depending on my mood. The Shrouds, obviously, The Sinners, Black Bag, and Mickey 17, I think are all movies that I just like have absolutely loved this year. The
Yeah,
Shrouds is
those are all
certainly
great
the
movies.
one that I have thought about the most. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I saw it at New York Film Festival last
So you've had the most
October.
time to think about
So
it.
so yeah, so I
Yeah.
watched it at the festival, loved it then. Like I was like, I think seeing it at the festival is obviously a unique experience because so much of the like when I watch great movies, I love being able to read about them and like get all of these people's opinions on them. A little bit harder to do when so few people have seen the movie. And so when I saw it at New York Film Festival, I talked about it with the people that I saw it with and whatever. And then I just had months and months leading up to the re-release of it now where it's like I could only read so many people's opinions about it. So I could really only have the thoughts that were in my head about it. And I did think about it a lot, but I was like, I'm so excited to rewatch this when it gets a wide release and like be able to have conversations about it and see how other people interpret it because I'm not like like it's not like I know everything about a movie when I watch it. I like to see how other people interpret it. So yeah, I've thought about it for a while, rewatched it. I was like, this is even better than when I saw it at New York Film Festival. It's a lot of movie. All of it is good. That's what I'll say about that. Again, I don't want to give too much away, and I won't be here next week, like I said. But it's an exciting thing for you guys to talk about because it's really good. Um, and yeah, it's definitely up there for best movies of the year. So if I guess this is almost good that we're doing this because we can tell people if you want to listen to our Shrouds episode and you still haven't seen the Shrouds and it's playing near you, you have a week after listening to this episode to go and see the Shrouds before next week's episode when they talk about it in more detail.
Yeah, really call to arms here. I'll say I'll go farther than you did. The Shrouds is not only the best movie of the year so far to me. I don't really foresee it. another movie coming out that is, like, hands down better until,
Mission
I mean
Impossible comes out in 2 weeks.
no, yeah, that's true, but really, it's like, like, Avatar and, like, the new
Sure,
Wes
yeah.
Anderson maybe, but it's like, The Shrouds is a really singular
New
piece
PTA
of art.
also.
Yeah, new
There's like
PTA,
there's
yeah.
like okay, whatever. Sorry. I thought you'd be excited. I mean, I thought you'd be more excited for it than I am. Um, I don't know. There's big no, it's a big movie year. You also we got a little Kelly Reichardt coming out this
Oh, the
year.
mastermind.
There's
Um,
plenty of stuff to be excited for. But yeah, I see your point, which is that yeah, probably I imagine for you and a couple other people will be up there at the very top of the list when the year is over. And then I watched a bunch of other really good movies as well. We talked about on the pod recently. I was like, I got to get back to watching real movies. I watched some real movies, guys.
yeah, he's back.
I did
He's
it. I
fucking
also
back.
watched some. I also watched some fake movies. We are
That's
talking
okay.
about Thunderbolts this week, but fake movies. It's
I
fine.
watched
We'll
more
we'll
fake I
get there.
watched a more fake movie than you did.
You did, yeah, which you can talk about in a minute. But yeah, um after the Shrouds, I watched Drug War, which is a Johnny Toe movie that I really liked. I didn't like it as much as Exiled, which is the one that I started with,
Mhm.
but I'm definitely on board with watching more Johnny Toe movie. It seems like what I was reading from other people that I follow on Letterboxd and just in general is that some other people really like Drug War like more than I did. It's good. It's really good. There's some stuff in there where it's like I'd love. I mean, I'm not going to give too much away on the podcast. I know Doug will watch it at some point pretty soon, so then I'll be able to talk to you about it. But that movie's fucking awesome. And there's like, oh, the ending is again without giving too much away. Just the setup for the ending and the location is so like I don't know how you could make this as like an American film, for example. Like people would be like, "Are you allowed to do that?" Like that
Right.
location. It's like it's so nuts the way that they set up the end like shootout because the yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to give it away, but where it takes place is just like, oh, that's crazy. And there's a lot of like really good stuff leading up to that, like a lot of just the drug smuggling stuff and like the crime stuff involved. It's a real cool like surveillance thriller, which like the way they use surveillance and when they're like setting up these drug busts and stuff and like all the stuff that's leading up to that ending is like yeah, it's up there. I don't know. I'm trying to think of good like surveillance comparisons.
I
But
s
a handful of great surveillance scenes.
I saw a tweet about drug war last week, I think, and it basically said, and attached a clip. I didn't watch the clip though. It attached a clip to it, but it basically said, Johnny Toe tried to change action movies forever, and then nobody responded. Like
Eh,
as in like no other filmmakers or studios responded.
Yeah, yeah. It's like not a very. It's I don't know when did Johnny Toe start making movies in the
In the 80 in like the late
80s?
80s, I think.
Okay, all right.
Or like maybe like the early. He didn't like
Yeah.
he
Well, I know
all of his
there's like
most
a
popular
number of them
movies were
from the
like the early
90s.
2000s and late
Yeah,
90s. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, interesting. Because this one came out in 2012. Um,
Yeah, the late
So
80s it
it's
looks like.
yeah, so it's like newer. I guess he's had newer movies since then, but uh, yeah, really good movie, Drug War. And then I watched The Aviator's Wife, which is an Eric Romer movie that I have been meaning to get to for a while. I kind of mentioned at some point on the podcast that I wanted to finish all three of his collections. I've already finished two of them, The Moral Tales and The Four Seasons. And so the last big collection of his that I have is Comedies and Proverbs. There's three movies I have to watch, or there were three movies I had to watch in that collection. Now that I've seen The Aviator's Wife, there are only two movies I still have to watch. For people interested in Romero, like those three collections make up the bulk of his filmography. There's a bunch of like old short films, and there's a bunch of other films that were just kind of like on their own, but like his whatever let's say like 16 most popular films are are pretty much all in those three collections.
Okay.
Um, so
How
so
did,
yeah, that's
how late did Romare make I don't know how long he lived. How late
there's
was he making
one that I'm
movies?
going to watch soon because it looks cool. He died in 2010. His last movie came out in 2007,
Okay.
And that 2007 movie, his last movie, I'm planning on watching it pretty soon because also I will include I recently, and I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. I think I just like kind of didn't think to do it. I had this in college, obviously, when I was still in school. I had Canopy via my school. I have not had a library card since I was much younger. I've moved around a bit, and I finally the other day, like 2 weeks ago, was like I should go to my local library and sign up for a library card. So I signed up for a library card. I have access to Canopy now, and I was looking at like I was sorting letterboxed by Canopy, and I was
Mhm.
like, I should have been only watching movies on Canopy this entire they have everything. They're like unbelievable collection of movies. I just like sorted by my watch list by average rating and like
Mhm.
and put in the Canopy filter and I was like, this is insane. Like everything I want to watch is just like on there, and like so many movies from directors that I'm interested, and it's not like everything. Obviously, they have like four Romero movies on there, but like all these directors, who we might talk about in our circles, or like who interest me, or like who I want to check out that are obviously not as popular as like Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve or whatever, like these like
Yeah.
like these lesser known directors, you could find like three, four, five of their movies on Canopy and just like start there. And I was looking at the Romero movies on Canopy, which is where I watched The Aviator's Wife, and they also had that movie that I'm referencing, his final movie. So I think because it's on there, I'll probably watch that one soon because it looks interesting. I'm like, I can't believe that he made a movie as recently as 2007 because I was just thinking about like other
Yeah, that's
movies
what I
that
was
came out.
wondering,
Yeah, like
because
I was
he
thinking
was in
about
that
other movies that came
sh
out at that time. I was like, that's
yeah.
crazy that that Eric Romero's last movie came out the same year as like these other 2007 movies.
Yeah, I was wondering
Um,
because he was in the like, that circle with Godard, and
yeah,
Godard, famously made movies until, like, the late 2010s. Well, his
yeah.
last movie came out fucking, like, 2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah, but I don't know. I was just thinking like 2007 is so recent. It's
No, yeah, it's crazy.
yeah,
It's
like Romero's
it's
last movie came out the same year that, No Country for Old Men came out.
yeah, isn't that that's
Like,
insane, right? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. But anyway, The Aviator's Wife, the movie that I did watch, is really good. I was like, it's funny because I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and I have like a list for the Romero movies I watch, and I was like, yeah, it was good. I put it at number 10, and she was like, oh, you didn't like it as much as I thought, and I was like, it's like 10's pretty high, dude. Like it's like I've only seen what is it, like 15 or 16 of them now, and like anything in the top, I mean, really all of the ones I've seen I like, but anything in like the top 12 or 13, I'm like, I love these movies.
Yeah.
There's really only 3 that like I'm pretty comfortable putting at the bottom of my list, but otherwise like everything up there, I'm like these movies are just some of my favorite movies. And so
Is
it's
The Green
it's
Ray your favorite of his still?
yeah, it is. Yeah. I think it'll be hard to top. It also like, it helps that I watched it so early into watching his movies, and so now that like I have a taste for like what he does, it's a little bit harder for like something he does to impress me, where it's like when I watched The Green Ray, like I was impressed by it because I had never it's not even the first movie of his that I'd seen. The first movie of his that I saw was Four Adventures, but that one was before I kind of even like thought about him as a director. And then I watched The Green Ray and I was like, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely movies that could compete with it. There's movies I like just as much, but I don't think I'll like one more than that. However lame that is, I guess, because it's his most popular movie. But The Aviator's Wife, really neat. It's like the setup for it, which is just like the setup for a lot of Romero movies, or like similar setups for a lot of Romero movies, is just that this guy sees that like he's like going to visit this. It's funny that like some of what's funny is just like the social norms of Romero movies and like how characters act and how different it is from what we're used to in the modern day, where it's like this guy like feels as though this like this woman is like his like romantic partner, and they've been seeing each other for like a week, like they've known each other for like a week, and he's just like she's like that's my woman. And
No,
like
that's such a
um
French thing, I think.
yeah, and
That's
but
so
also like
French.
she has no ties to him at all. She's like, and like that's one thing I enjoy about Romero movies is that like characters, it's not like it's not like cheating necessarily in his movies when like characters are like loose about their relationships, where it's like they could talk to one person at one point and then they just like run into another person. They're like, oh, I'm interested in this person, and then like all of a sudden they just like drop somebody, but it's like everything's a little, I don't know. It's very like chill, relaxed, laid back, like people in France in the 80s or whatever. But yeah, this guy like sees that his girlfriend is like leaving her apartment with another man, and so he like starts following the other man who has a wife, and on that journey to follow the other man, he meets a different woman who he like spends the day with, stalking this guy and his wife. And like see, he's like trying to find like dirt on him to like go back to his girlfriend and be like, you should not be with this guy. And yeah, it's fun. It's a good time. I like that movie a lot. Uh, I watched Punishment Park, which is really good. I've wanted to watch some of Peter Watkins's like really long movies, like Edvard Munch and La Commune, which
Mhm.
are like both over 4 hours long or something. But Punishment Park is shorter and also has just been recommended to me a lot as like the type of thing that I'd be really into. People who assume that were correct. It's like documentary style. The thing that made it a bit difficult to watch, I think, was that uh, as is the case with a lot of political movies that I adore, they are pretty timeless. But it felt as though Punishment Park was so like relevant right now that I was like, I don't like this is making me uncomfortable. Like there were things being depicted in the movie where I was like, this is happening to people like right now. Like I don't know that I don't like it was really hard to watch. I've seen it compared a lot to Solo, which is interesting because I still haven't watched Solo, but like that's like been a point of comparison where they're like two like similar movies.
In terms of, like,
Um
how, like, graphic they are?
no, not
Like, the
graphic, just
misery?
like in terms of like what they're like the subject matter.
Oh, just,
Um
like,
like
fascism?
yeah, like fascism, but
Yeah.
also like specifically like a controlled environment where it's like
Mhm.
occurring. But but yeah, it's really good. People should watch it if they care about that kind of thing. It's essentially
If you
like
care about that kind of thing.
sure, yeah, if you're like, if you're politically informed and like care about the world. But pretty much what happens is like a bunch of people who are outspoken about like the war and like you know, protesters or whatever. Like back then they would just be like, you're a communist, which is yeah essentially what they say in the movie. And like they capture these people and instead of imprisoning them, they get like the option. It's like you either can serve your prison sentence or go to Punishment Park, and like a bunch of them are like, okay, we'll do Punishment Park. And then Punishment Park
Punishment
is like,
Park sounds crazy.
yeah,
Like,
no, I
if
know.
somebody told you that, like, if you got arrested right now and you're like, yeah, you can go to jail
My
or go
ass
to
is not going to
Punishment Park,
Punishment
I'm
Park.
not going to Punishment Park. I don't even know what
No,
that is.
but
And I'm like, "No."
but Punishment Park were like these like they had these like in the movie in the movie like theoretically they have these punishment parks all over the country where they're like imprisoning people rather than like sending them to prison. And so they're like because the premise of the movie is that the like American prisons are at full capacity, and that's why they've made this like punishment park initiative where people are like, we'll send you to Punishment Park instead. But what happens at Punishment Park is they're like in the middle, they get like thrown into the middle of a desert with no resources. And it's like you have to go all the way. It's like you have to get all the way here, which is like they say it in the movie, but it's like 16 miles away or something. They're like, you have to travel 16 miles in the desert with no like food and water in the next 2 days while our troops are hunting you with guns. And if you get caught, they'll kill you.
What the
And
fuck?
it's so fucked up. It's so dark, and they're like, oh, I mean that. Yeah, the movie gets so. It's like towards the end, there's like one image that is just like kind of like seared in my brain now, where I'm like, this is so evil, and also just like all of it is pretty spot on with stuff that could or is already happening.
Well, I mean,
Um,
fucking El Salvador, right? Like,
yeah, of
yeah.
course. Yeah, but also not just that, but like it's also like people becoming political prisoners because of like being outspoken about Palestine. Like
Did you
all
see
of this
that
stuff.
the attempted assassination
Yeah,
of Greta Thunberg?
I did see
What is
this where they like tried to
happening?
attack yeah, like
What the fuck is going
I
on?
saw a couple things this morning where I was like, we are living in I like it's so we're not going to go that deep on the podcast because it would be just a total tangent, but there have been like 5 news stories on my feed over the past few weeks, well, really over the last 100 days if I want to specify, but that like anytime they pop up, I'm like, it's so over for like I've been thinking about it. And I'm like, we might just like the human species might just need to like be exterminated. Like we might just need to like start
Bro,
over, dude.
we're entering the Chinese century, and I think that, America deserves it.
I
We
no, I
Yeah,
agree. I agree. These are radical takes for our movie podcast, but like, fuck, it's so bad.
yeah.
Anyway, that's Punishment Park. Um, and then I watched Mission Impossible, which I'm not going to say much about because there's a new
Mission
Mission Impossible
Impossible
movie
1?
coming out very soon. Yeah, the first Mission Impossible, I rewatched it. That movie is so fucking good, dude. I'm like shot. There are like people who watch that movie and they're like, every sequel is better than the first, and I'm like, you are a crazy person. Like you are insane.
Do you wanna know
Um,
something crazy?
yeah,
Like, one little tidbit about that movie that I found out recently.
yeah.
That's the first movie Tom Cruise ever produced.
Oh wow,
Yeah, like, he was a movie
interesting,
star, and then, like, they kinda sold Mission Impossible as, like, "Oh, we're gonna bring Tom Cruise in as a producer." That's
interesting.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't know that.
obviously, he's produced all of them now, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. Well, it's interesting too because it's like, well, I mean, it was like a good piece of property though because it was a TV show or whatever, right?
Yeah, and that's
So
part of why, because he was a fan of the TV show, and that
I
was
see.
yeah.
Interesting. Um, yeah, so I'm not gonna say much about Mission Impossible because we'll be talking about that soon. I watched Thunderbolts, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then I watched Up in the Air last night.
What is that?
That movie, Up in the Air, is a George Clooney movie, directed by Jason Reitman, who is mostly known
Oh,
as a bad director, but who made
yes.
one fucking banger. Well, okay, maybe he's made more than one banger. I know Adam Naiman, who you and I both really like, has like a weird relationship with Jason Reitman, where he like talks often about him as both like a terrible and amazing director. And he likes Up in the Air quite a bit. And I really want to check it out. That movie is so fucking depressing, dude. There were like 12 scenes in the movie where it felt like I got shot. Like I was like, this movie is so sad. It's like also like it's also just like very watchable. And it's like a good movie. George Clooney's awesome in it. Anna Kendrick is awesome in it. Vera Farmiga's awesome in it. It has like the weirdest cameos from like Jason Bateman and J.K. Simmons and Danny McBride and Zach Galifianakis. Like it's like there's like funny stuff in there too, but it is so sad because like essentially the whole movie is like just about being in like the workforce and like what life is about, and it's just like you fucking work and then you die, and like it's so because George Clooney's character, his job is that he's like a corporate downsizing expert, so he goes around for companies and fires their employees for them because they don't want to do it themselves. So he travels the country going to different offices, gathering all the employees one by one that he's going to fire, and talks to them about how they've been fired and like what they're like where they're going to go in life after this.
Yeah,
And he is also like this incredibly lonely man who like avoids any commitment to his family and like doesn't want to be in a relationship and stuff. And then he meets Vera Farmiga like in an airport or whatever, or like at a hotel. And romance ensues, but it's more complicated than that, sadly. Um, and it's just like, dude, some of the stuff they say in the movie, I'm like, this is so fucking sad. Where it's like, there's like the scene. Speaking of J.K. Simmons, who's one of the cameos, like the scene where J.K. Simmons shows up and gets fired is the best scene in the movie, and he is so fucking good. He's in the movie for like 2 minutes. Unbelievable scene where like he gets fired and he's talking and like George Clooney's doing his whole like speech that he gives everybody, and J.K. Simmons is just like not buying it. He's like, dude, how like Anna Kendrick tries to like she's in the room with them and she like tries to spin it positively to him, and he's like, you're a fucking asshole. Like I have to go home and tell my kids that I don't like that I can't make a living anymore. And like and then he like George Clooney like brings up this thing, like he's like looking at his resume and he's like, you know, like he's like, oh, you minored in like French culinary arts or something, and he's like, you could have been doing this and you've been working this like shitty job forever. And like J.K. Simmons gets like really like tearful and like emotional at the fact that like he spent his whole life like doing a job that he doesn't want to do, and he never pursued the thing that he wanted to do. And essentially like the entire movie is just about everybody in the movie like settling for living like whatever mediocre life that like they're supposed to live. But
That
also
sounds really sad.
it's really sad, but it's also like, part of it is also just that like this is like what life is, and then they're like, like it's like there's like good to find in it, but also maybe it's not all about like maybe it's not all supposed to go this way, and it like kind of contrasts the two by like having all the other characters and then having Anna Kendrick who's like 23 in the movie being like, no, like this is how my life is supposed to go, and then Vera Farmiga has this moment where she's like, that's not what it's gonna be, dude. Like it's like you stop thinking about that stuff when you get older, and I was like, this movie's so fucking sad, man. I was like, it's so good. I was shocked that I liked it that much. George Clooney sneakily just becoming like the more I watch George Clooney movies, like some of these like lesser seen ones, I'm like, this guy's just probably one of my like 10 favorite actors ever. Like I love this guy so much.
He's good.
He's just
Charismatic movie
unbelievable.
star.
Yeah. No, I like when I watch him, I'm like, how is the like nobody has ever done this before? You know what I mean? Like I watch him and I'm like, this is the most charismatic man that's ever lived. Like it's shocking. Um
Did you
it's
see
unbelievable.
his new hair?
His new hair?
He dyed his hair black.
Oh, that was for like a role or whatever though, right?
Oh, I don't know. He was, like,
I
on
saw yeah, it was like in
CNN
an
with, like,
interview. I think it was
black
for a
hair.
role.
Okay,
No,
that makes
maybe
sense.
it's not. I don't know. Yeah, I saw it. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Anyway, that's up in the air. You wanna talk about what you watched?
I guess.
I guess.
No, Jason Reitman also has, like,
The
fucking,
craziest.
like, a atrocious filmography.
Yeah. No, I know. It's, what, like, just crazy stuff. Um,
I watched the film High and Low,
oh,
1963,
right.
which directed by Akira Kurosawa. It's really, really good. Really, really, really good. Kurosawa, I've like, I guess like I'm really into him. I've seen 13 of his movies now. Uh, yeah, I mean, he's like one of the most famous masters, but it's
Yeah.
he doesn't get brought up in like kind of cinephile conversations that I'm ever a part of, really, though. Like nobody
Right.
ever, like, people are way more likely to bring up John Ford than they are
Yeah.
Kurosawa for some
Which is
reason.
interesting because when I
Like,
at least when I was in like film school and stuff, and also just like earlier, like I used to just like kind of and again, stuff changes over time or whatever, but
mhm.
like I used to my understanding of Akira Kurosawa was just that like that's the greatest director who's ever
Yes,
lived.
yeah,
Like
growing
that
up,
is
that
like
was,
in
yeah,
my head canon. I was like, that's just what he is. Like, and that's how people talked about him. Like
yeah.
that's just the greatest guy to ever make
He's
movies.
like the Michael Jordan of
Yeah,
that's how growing up, that's my understanding too, is
yeah,
like he's just like Michael Jordan. He's the GOAT, right? It's
right.
understood that he's the GOAT, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and it feels not like that anymore,
No, it doesn't.
which is interesting. But yeah, High and Low is really good. The the French, not French, what am I talking about? The Japanese title for High and Low, because High and Low is like the English title, like renaming of the movie. Uh the name of the movie in Japanese translates directly to heaven and hell.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like as they're kind of changing it, like instead of literally heaven and hell, it's high and low. Which I so Spike Lee's remaking this movie. He should have named his movie Heaven and Hell instead of Highest and Lowest. That would have been
yeah,
kind
but
of
that's not
sick.
as much of a Spike Lee title as Highest to Lowest is. Like
Yeah.
that's such a Spike Lee thing.
Um. The movies. I'm assuming you're gonna probably watch it before the Spike Lee
Yeah. Well,
remake
I've
comes
seen it
out.
already, but I'm
Oh,
gonna
you have?
rewatch it.
I've seen
Yeah,
it.
I've seen High and Low.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
I love High
Uh,
and Low. That movie is awesome. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I love that movie.
yeah, it's Akira Kurosawa is such an interesting filmmaker to watch now, because it's like the blocking and the framing of actors and sets is so fucking like kind of perfect, right?
Yeah.
Especially in like something like High and Low, it's like wow, this movie looks so incredible, and it's like thinking about like the three dimensional space and thinking
Mhm.
about like how the lighting and everything is so it's like real like master shit. And then the whole movie is just kind of like a really old like moral tale, like talking directly to the audience,
Yeah.
saying like, yeah, murder is really bad, and
Yeah.
it is, and it's how it's like, yeah, and rich people make poor people feel bad, and it's like the world and society is kind of messed up, and it's like saying like those things that I'm saying like directly to the audience basically in the movie. It's so little room for it's the movie's very obvious. It's very like, and that's all Kurosawa's movies are. Like that's how he writes, right?
Yeah,
Is very much like almost like school time special,
right.
which I think is that's not even a criticism. It's just kind of how his movies are, which I
Yeah.
think is
I think it's also a lot
interesting.
of that's also a lot more effective in, like, when you watch movies from him or just anybody, like, from that time, as opposed to when something is, like, really obvious now in the modern day as we're watching it, because, like, a lot of it back then is, like, it's in conversation with the image, and now a
Mhm.
lot of movies are just, like, movies made by, like, fucking shitty directors who are just like, where it's like it's a writer's movie, and then the
Yeah,
writing
it's
is
a
just like,
writer's movie. Yeah,
this is what the movie's about.
yeah,
So it's a lot easier to criticize movies for, like, like, I don't think that that's there's other directors who I feel that way. And maybe a lot of this stuff is also just obvious because we're watching it 60, 70, 80 years after they
right.
had these conversations, So, like, that's also, like, the perspective that I think is important to have, is like, I don't really think about that as much when I'm watching older movies, because oftentimes when older movies spell something out, I'm like, like for example, I was thinking about or I've talked about before how much I like how when I was getting into Nicholas Ray, and how so many of, like, Nicholas Ray's ideas are like really progressive for the time that they were in. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, that stuff's obvious. Like, you can't miss that if you're watching it in 2025, like, it's like, but that's not Nicholas Ray's fault, like,
Yeah,
or whoever's. So I don't know. I think that's also important. But
really good movie though. Still,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
great movie. Interested to see how they're gonna make this movie take place in fucking New York. But
I think it's gonna be good. I'm, like,
yeah, I'm
very
interested.
optimistic. I'm
I
like,
incredible. I
I
mean,
think it's gonna
Denzel.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome.
Um. Uh. Yeah. So I watched High and Low. Then I watched Alien Surveillance.
Yeah, please tell me about this, because what the fuck first of all, no, let's start with, how did you find this movie? Like, what put this movie on your radar, and what made you decide to watch this?
So
Because I don't know what this is, and I imagine 99% of people listening to this episode also don't know what it is.
I was looking for zero budget movies on
Mhm.
just like in general, like movies that were made with like literally no money. Uh and there's a lot of shot on video stuff that was obviously which I'm already kind of pretty interested in, that was made with basically no budget. And Mark Polonia is legendary, is kind of like a big word, but he's like a notable like zero budget filmmaker, and he's been making movies since like the 80s. No, like the 90s. Uh and he just like never stopped. And I just like scrolling through his, and here's some of the movies that he's made, right? He's made Cocaine Shark,
Okay.
Sharkula,
Okay.
Splatter Farm, Sharkenstein, uh
Wait, this
Am-
guy's kinda cooking,
Amityville
because
in Space,
because
Virus
I'm also
Shark,
somebody who loves sharks,
uh
as people may
Amityville
know.
Death House. He made a movie called Shark Encounters of the Third Kind. He made a movie called
Made these for $0?
yeah.
How do you even get a shark in a movie for free?
He made a movie called Bigfoot versus Zombies. Um
Okay.
he made a movie
What
called Splatter
do the
Beach,
what is, like
Jurassic Shark 3 Sea Venge.
what is, like, the visual, like,
He made a movie called
palette of these
Dune
like, when
World.
you're talking about movies that involve space and sharks and are made for, like, for no budget, like, what do these components look like on the screen?
That's a great question. I haven't seen any of these. He made a movie,
Okay.
yeah.
But just, like, in reference to the one that you watched, this Alien movie that you're
Yes, Alien Surveillance, right? So here's the thing about Alien Surveillance. It's kind of an experimental film in a
okay.
in a way.
Wait, did you like this movie?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. I was like, "This is
Okay, so
interesting."
it's not like a masterpiece, it's just
No,
like a
no, no,
movie
no.
that you
I
thought was
watched it
good.
on Tubi.
Okay.
Uh, so Alien Surveillance,
Tubi, as if every movie on Tubi is bad.
it's it's for the movie is like this, Alien Surveillance, there's 4 screens. So it's split
Okay.
screen, like local co-op, like you were playing a video game with 4 of your friends in the early 2000s, right? It's
Okay.
split into
I'm already
4
kind of into it.
it's split the whole movie is split into 4 screens, 4 cameras
Mhm.
that never move. Um, the whole movie,
Okay.
and it's about this, like, coworker, event party thing, and then so like one screen is like an office room, one screen's a hallway, one screen is a stairwell, and then one screen is the parking lot. And
Mhm.
and it's just aliens are
On
coming.
surveillance footage
Yeah, and it's just yeah, aliens are kind of like are slowly abducting all of the people, like the group of
at the
people
party.
at the party. Yeah,
Wait, that kinda rocks.
it's a fun idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a good concept, actually.
It's like so cheap. It's like the cheapest
Sure.
movie ever made.
I mean, that's like yeah, I mean, you could assume, I
Yeah,
guess.
but and it's like it is also, no offense to Mark Polonia. I was watching the movie and I was thinking this is a fun idea. I could execute this so much better right now.
Yeah.
Um but
When
yeah,
did
no,
this mo you said this movie came out recently?
in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh yeah, so that's alien surveillance.
Nice.
Very very silly. Um and then I watched Notorious.
Oh,
Notorious.
saw that you watched this. My favorite Hitchcock.
Interesting. It's really good.
Yeah.
I watched this. This was actually, believe it or not, this was Mission Impossible prep.
Oh.
Yes. Because I don't know if you knew this, but or were able to put two and two together, but Mission Impossible 2 is just a notorious ripoff narratively.
Yeah.
Um so and that was on purpose because Tom Cruise being the producer for Mission Impossible 2 was like finding the writers and director and everything for the movie,
Mhm.
and he was sitting down having a meeting with the two writers for Mission Impossible 2. They were talking about maybe making it a little bit more woman focused, and
Uh-huh.
he said, "Yeah, like and then Tom Cruise said, "Like Notorious," and then the writers
Oh,
were like, "Oh,
let's
we've
make
never seen
Notorious.
Notorious." So then Tom Cruise was like, "What do you mean you've never seen Notorious?" And then he sat there and then made them watch it on Laserdisc in the meeting.
That
Uh,
rocks.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's
I
good.
love that movie. I
Obviously,
love it. I mean,
2
yeah,
of
I
the
don't know. There's
greatest
like
actors of all time, Cary Grant and Ingmar Bergman.
yeah, yeah. There are it's one of those people like as is the case with a couple of other directors that I love where it's like if I watched Vertigo right now, that could jump to number 1 or whatever. You know what I mean? Where it's like if you just watch
Yeah,
like any of his movies, whatever one you've
Vertigo's
watched most
so good.
recently. Yeah, that's what I'm
Vertigo's so
saying. Where it's like,
good, bro.
no, it's funny because I was literally last night I was talking to my girlfriend about watching Vertigo because she likes Hitchcock but hasn't seen it, and I was like, we need to
Oh,
watch
dude,
Vertigo.
I saw Vertigo
Um,
in theaters a couple months ago, and I was really like I got, like, shell shocked, like, "Oh, this actually is the greatest movie of all time."
No,
Like,
yeah. Well, that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking because that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like I could probably rewatch it right now and be like, "Oh, I like that even more than Notorious." But then I could watch a different one right at like I could watch Rear Window right after and be like, "Oh, actually, this is the best one." And I feel that way about a number of his movies, where like every one I watch is one of the best movies I've seen. So Notorious is my favorite, but it's like always subject to change because of the person who made it. That movie's great. I love Notorious.
No, Notorious is
I
great.
just like from like it's also one of those things where it's just like I love the screenplay so much. Like I think that is like the my favorite screenplay of his. And when I watch like kind of these like classic Hollywood movies, I'm so fascinated by their screenplays because they're like those are my favorite scripts, are just like old movie scripts,
Have
like
you
old
seen
classic
Rope?
Hollywood movie scripts. Yeah, I've seen Rope. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, Rope is
Also
really good.
great.
I was like, you
Yeah.
would like Rope.
Oh yeah, I mean anything with Jimmy Stewart in it, I'm like, this is probably the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I love that guy so much. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really fascinated by like old Hollywood screenplays because they're just like, man, they used to just know how to do it. Like
No, they really did
they
used to know
really
how
used to
they
know
used to
how to
know how to
write.
do
Like
everything. It's like
they're
we're
they're
talking about, like,
so
the
efficient with their screenplays. They're so like the dialogue is so sharp. It's like it's unbelievable how good the average like Hollywood screenplay is from back then compared to
bro,
like right
between,
now.
like, the screenplay for Notorious and, like, the blocking and shot composition of fucking, High and Low, we've just lost everything. Like, everybody has just, like, forgotten how to do fucking anything,
Yeah.
bro.
No,
Like,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because when I was like, that is really like Notorious is one of the like 5, 10 best scripts for a movie that I've ever seen. And so that's probably why it's my favorite Hitchcock, because it's just like Man, that's unbelievable stuff. But yeah, it is kind of a lost art. It happens.
I watched Star Wars,
Yeah.
May the 4th. I watched Star Wars
Yeah.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Just so
Uh,
that's not out of context, we're recording this on May the 4th, so
that's true.
people
I'm sorry.
are aware. Yeah,
Uh,
today's May the 4th. Star Wars doing really well at the box office.
it's out of theaters now.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
what was it? It was like was it the most profitable, like, re-release of a movie
Re-release.
ever?
I think so, yeah, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Um,
Some people love that movie.
no, people love
Especially because it's
Star
like
Wars.
that's our generation's, like, Star Wars movie, you know?
Yeah, Revenge of the
Like,
Sith is for, like,
for a
people
lot
in
of
their
people.
20s, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people in their 20s, 30s even, like, and obviously, like, I guess not really young kids because they have the new ones, but yeah, it's a big deal.
No, it's good. When's the last time you saw it?
I'd like over 10 years ago,
Okay,
probably.
okay.
Um,
Here's w
I used to watch it a lot as a kid. I had it on DVD as a kid, as I did for all the Star Wars movies, I think, but I'm pretty sure that one specifically is the one that I've seen the most times, obviously, because like we just said, it was our generation Star Wars movie, so it was on my TV frequently. But
I like Revenge of the Sith quite a bit, but
mhm,
my kind of take on Star Wars, I think, is becoming that George Lucas is a ridiculous person. Uh,
yeah,
like, just like the prequels in general are just I'm the first person to ever say this. The prequels in general are full of just ridiculous
yeah,
ridiculous decisions that don't make any fucking sense.
yeah,
In terms of I'm like world building decisions, not even like writing like
sure,
narrative, like dialogue, like acting,
yeah,
filmmaking decisions, like world building decisions where I'm like, are you insane? Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
why is Yoda doing backflips? And you know what I mean? That's my number one biggest pet peeve in all of Star Wars is like, why is Yoda doing backflips with a laser sword and shit? It's like
yeah,
he's supposed to be a silly old man. He's supposed to be like a wise old monk. Why is he like,
right.
you know? It,
Yeah.
that's
It's funny
so
because as a kid, I didn't even really think about I mean, having seen all of them, I don't know. I'm not like one of those people who I know obviously like some of our peers have like strong feelings about these like that era of Star Wars movies compared to the original, and like some people prefer them even. I don't really think I have like a super strong opinion either way because like I just said I haven't really like been actively rewatching Star Wars movies since I was much younger. But I guess I never really like had those thoughts as a kid because I used to see Yoda doing backflips and I was like, I mean, that's fucking cool to be fair. Like that was my Yoda
no,
essentially. Like
yeah. As a little kid, I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, this is I." I as a little kid, my favorite movie was Avatar, and my second favorite movie was Attack of the Clones. Right. Um, so I
yeah,
was like, I was all in on it. I was like, cool. But then I got a little bit older, and I started to like the original movies more, specifically like Empire, a lot more. Right.
right.
And then then going back and watching the prequels again, I still like them, but I'm like, why did he do this? Like
Yeah.
what the
It's
fuck?
funny it's funny, I saw, like, a tweet, of someone, like, posting, a picture of General Grievous, and they were like, "Is this guy" why do so many people like this guy other than, like, Aura or something? And then I saw, somebody I don't I mean, you know who Jokic Joestar is, but
Yeah.
he, like, quote tweeted it and said something along the lines of how, like, so many Star Wars characters are just, like, the kinda, like, the original like aura farmers, and that's like how people kind of like pick them. And it's like I was thinking about that, and I was like, dude, when I was a kid, I saw General Grievous with like four lightsabers, and I was like, this guy's the coolest fucking dude on the planet. I was like, I love this guy. Like I thought he was fucking awesome.
When I was a kid, I was
And I
like,
felt
"Bro,
that way
Kit
about a lot of
Fisto
Star
is my
Wars
favorite
characters.
Jedi." He doesn't even have any lines in the movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there was a
Like,
couple people where it's like I feel like if I watched it now, I would not love. I mean, I don't know. A lot of my favorite characters are pretty basic. I always love. It's not really an aura farming thing, but like I always loved R2D2. Like, and that's like kind of. I mean, I guess he has a lot of aura because he's just like
yeah,
the
he has
most fun
swag for
character. Yeah,
sure.
he has swag. Yeah, but there's like a lot of people like that where it's like, why were these people my favorite? Other than that,
Bro,
they just like look cool, and that
yeah.
really is all Star Wars was for me as a kid.
My
Uh,
favorite as an adult, my favorite Star Wars character is now, C-3PO. I love that
Okay.
guy.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be pretty high on my list. I also what's his name? What's the character that Samuel Jackson played? Um,
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, yeah, Mace Windu was one of my favorites as a kid too. I was like, I saw Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, I mean, that's Samuel L. Jackson holding a purple lightsaber, and
Rewatching
I thought he was specifically cool because his lightsaber was purple. I was like, that's fucking sick that he has a purple lightsaber and everybody else doesn't.
it is so funny. Rewatching this movie in theaters, and I was like, "Man, Samuel L. Jackson is so out of place here." It's so crazy.
No,
Um,
it's funny. I used to think like just everybody who had purple or green lightsabers as opposed to like red and blue ones, I was just like, these are the coolest fucking people alive. I was like, I want one of the fun colors.
yeah,
Like I used to because when I had my own lightsabers, I had my own like purple and green ones because I was like,
yeah.
I don't want a red lightsaber. That's the lamest shit. Like, I was like, give me a green one.
No, the
Um,
green one I always thought was cool, cooler than the blue one. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, no, the movie's cool. I saw another tweet. We just talking about Twitter, but I saw I saw another tweet.
We're actually doing amazing bullshit podcasting right now. We're 45 minutes into the episode. We have not started talking about Thunderbolts yet.
um, I saw I saw I saw a tweet about Revenge of the Sith, and they said, Imagine everybody sitting down watching what they all believe to be the last Star Wars movie, and the opening crawl starts, and they all think, "What the hell is a General Grievous?" Because he's not in any of the other
Yeah,
movies.
no, he's literally just not. Yeah,
And the opening crawl is like, "Oh, on the hunt for General Grievous." Count
right.
Dooku, and it's like, what the fuck?
That's funny. Um, did you have any other movies after Star Wars?
Yeah, just real quick, I watched Sparrow, Johnny Toe movie. Uh
Nice. Okay.
Really, really fucking amazing movie, right?
Yeah.
My big kind of my one of my big takeaways now about Johnny Toe is that nobody does the really wide angle lens like he does. He loves to
Yeah.
use that really wide angle lens, and I love it. I love every time he does it. It's such a singular thing to him.
Yeah.
In his style, it's really, yeah, amazing. And Sparrow has a really incredible soundtrack, like one of the best. Score rather, not soundtrack. Scores, one
Yeah.
of the best.
Damn.
And then
I
I
gotta
watched
check that
Barry
one out.
Lyndon in theaters. It's
All
cool.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Barry Lyndon, great movie. Yeah. I was. We were having a conversation about this off pod because Doug said it was probably somewhere in the middle of Stanley Kubrick's filmography, which I don't think is like a bad opinion to
I
have at
do think
all.
that. Yeah,
I um I just have that movie a lot higher, but also there's like the problem of like I have to rewatch 2001 and but even if I put 2001 above it, I think Barry Lyndon would still be like number 3 for me probably,
yeah.
right? I don't know.
He
I
made
mean,
10 movies, and I think my
sure,
take
yeah.
is that it's like number
It's like
five.
yeah, sure. Okay, fair. No, just because like some of the ones you were naming, like Clockwork Orange and The Shining, I'm like, I don't like those movies more than Barry Lyndon.
Oh, see, yeah.
Um, yeah, right now I have it at number 3. I have Eyes Wide Shut, Paths of Glory, and then Barry Lyndon. Um, and then yeah, I don't know, like Clockwork Orange, I've never cared as much about. The Shining's great,
That movie's
obviously, but it's
good.
not
That
like one of
movie's
my
good
favorites.
too.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna have a hot take about The Shining. I just think Barry Lyndon's really good, but also Barry Lyndon, it's very like me subject matter. I love my period pieces.
Yeah, you
Um,
love guys that have a lot of sex and are
yeah,
really bad to women,
just
and
okay. Well, I
um,
mean, kind of, but only in movies. Only if they're fake. Um, but but yeah, and then we could talk about Thunderbolts a little bit. So
Thunderbolts.
here's the kind of setup that we're approaching this movie with, which is that Doug has not seen Thunderbolts, but I have. And
Actually, I haven't. Not only have I not seen Thunderbolts, I have not seen the Black Widow movie. I
yes,
also haven't seen the Captain America movie,
Brave New World, right?
and I haven't seen the Marvels.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
I have seen all of those except for Brave New World,
would I even
which
know what the fuck was going on in this movie?
yeah, I think it's like mostly pretty watchable as a standalone movie. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about Thunderbolts.
Yes.
Doug has some questions, I guess, because he hasn't seen it, and so I'll try to explain the movie as best as I can to Doug. We're gonna for people who care, which I don't think is a ton of listeners of our podcast, but we're gonna spoil some of Thunderbolts, I guess.
Yes.
Uh,
You've probably everybody's that wants to see it has probably already seen it
Yeah,
if you're
obviously.
listening.
Yeah, that's also important. So Thunderbolts is very well liked. It is the new Marvel movie that was marketed as Marvel's A24 movie,
Of course,
for
which is
whatever
true.
that means, which is true. Yeah, it's Marvel's
It's Marvel's
A24 movie.
A24 movie.
Um,
There's a metaphor.
it's yeah, there's a metaphor. It yeah, it's very well liked, and a lot of people are talking about it as a sort of return to form for Marvel in an era where they uh, have really struggled post Endgame, which is like expected, I guess, when you make a movie like Endgame, is that it's going to be you can't just keep one upping it forever, probably, unless you want to make $500 million movies over and over again. So you kind of, I guess the struggle was anticipated, but how severe it was probably not anticipated. Where a lot of like big Marvel fans, this is not us, but a lot of big Marvel fans were like, like this whole era of Marvel is just like bad. And then Thunderbolts comes along, and people are like, "Are we back?" Um,
Are we
and
back?
and my answer to that is kind of
Oh,
if,
wow. Okay, okay.
and let me explain. Me personally, no, we are not back. But if you are one of these people, again, like I said, not me and Doug, if you're one of these people who really likes Marvel movies and who has liked the MCU since the beginning, since back in the Iron Man days, this is probably what you want out of an MCU movie. Which is why so many people are liking it. And that's what I'll say. When I say we're back, it's like we as in me are not back because there's no getting me back. But it's yeah, it's like I can see the appeal being that this feels like a Marvel movie that came out in 2014.
Okay.
That is the vibe of the movie, is that this movie came out over 10 years ago in the era where we were still in the Iron Man trilogy and the beginnings of the Captain America movies and all these like, beloved Marvel projects. That is the vibe of the movie. I think that's why so many people are liking it. And I think I could point to a number of reasons why that is the case. Um, the first being that it's much smaller. I don't know why this has been the approach for the MCU and superhero movies in general for so long. I have said this before, and it is the reason why I think movies like, you know, Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2 specifically,
Mhm.
and like, even the Dark Knight movies or whatever, like some of the great superhero movies of our time are so great is because they understand that superheroes do not have to save the entire world and galaxy to be cool and like loved and like do their job. In fact, I think it is better if they are not saving the entire world
Right.
because the stakes feel so much more personal, and that matters. I care a lot more about a movie that has to do with like characters that I love as opposed to like, oh, the world's just gonna explode if we don't do this. It's like, okay, like I don't know what like it's hard. It's a lot harder to get invested in that. And so this movie is does it goes to good lengths to establish that these are characters who we are supposed to like, humanizes these superheroes in a way where it's like, these are guys you want to root for. um, Part of that I don't think it does as successfully as some other people are claiming. I think I'm not gonna say that like the script, for example, is super good.
Good.
There's there's one there's one device that they use that I think is really cool actually, which is that the villain in the movie, when he is kind of like becoming the villain, there are flashes where you see like you get a peek into his powers, and he will touch a character. He touches like Florence Pugh's character or David Harbour's character or whoever, like all these like Sebastian Stan, whatever, and
Yeah.
they go it like immediately like time freezes and they like go into their brain and see this like traumatic memory from their past. And I think it's actually a pretty useful device. Like it's actually pretty cool because it is specifically doing the thing that all the other MCU movies mostly do not do, which is like they just talk at you endlessly. They're like, here is
Right.
this entire hero's backstory and blah blah blah. It's literally just like giving us like a 3 minute scene, like a vision of like this is what this character went through and this is why you should care about them. And it's actually visual, like you're actually just watching it. Which I think is cool. Like that is good. Then it also has a bunch of writing in the movie where they still explain things to you, which is why I said the script is not the greatest because it's like it's like those two things clashing with each other where it's like they're making some good decisions on the part of the characters and then they're also being like, by the way, this character was important in Captain America Brave New World, where it's like you don't need that, like it could just be its own movie. um which is that might be an inescape. I don't know how you feel about that, but that might just be an inescapable MCU problem now. Is that when you're 30 whatever movies deep, I don't know if it's possible to make movies that stand alone without keeping the audience in on it, like the commercial appeal of like making sure that the audience understands what happened in the previous movies. That's important.
Yeah, that's just a
Uh,
problem with the whole idea here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh, yeah. I
there's nothing.
so Okay, so this movie's about the Void, who
Yes,
is disappearing people in New York, like Hiroshima
correct.
bomb dusting them in New York, right? Uh,
Yeah, that's how the
um,
director described it.
where is Spider-Man? That's
None
his
of the
territory,
yeah.
bro.
I
That's his
mean, well, I don't
territory.
know. That's the problem, and I'm sure some big MCU fan in the comments could correct us. Like, I never know like when in relation to the rest of the MCU certain movies are taking place. Not just this movie, but like sometimes you'll watch like obviously they explain it in the movies, but like listen, backlogging 30 Marvel movies in my brain and like remembering all the details of them, like I don't care enough to do that. And so when I'm
Right.
watching like any specific Marvel movie and they're like, like it's like I'm watching Spider-Man do this thing and it's like, where are all the other Avengers? And it's like everybody who's a Marvel fan just kind of like knows where they are. They're like, oh, of course, they're doing, like they're busy with this. And it's like, why would I be thinking about that? Like I don't like I'm not just like I don't just have like the index in my brain of what's happening elsewhere. I imagine all the Avengers are well, all the Avengers are, they're kind of
That's true.
yeah, they're not really Avengers anymore, with the
That is
exception of
true.
a couple guys, I guess. I mean, Thor is still relevant. He's still going to be in more movies, and
Yeah, what is Thor up
uh,
to? What's he doing? Oh, I guess, like, well, how did Love and Thunder end? It's, like, him with that little girl?
oh yeah,
You
I kind of
remember?
forgot about Love and Thunder.
So what are him and that little girl doing?
Chilling on an intergalactic ship or something, right?
Sure, I guess, I don't
Um,
know, I guess.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't know,
yeah,
just Marvel stuff.
Marvel
Anyway,
stuff.
yeah. No, it's like these heroes are really the only ones available. It's funny, Sebastian Stan is playing like a congressman in this movie. He like the Winter Soldier becomes like a member of
The
Congress.
Winter Soldier becomes a politician?
Yeah, Bucky Barnes becomes a politician. Or is he
Does the general public know that Bucky Barnes was brainwashed by Nazis? Like,
who's to
even if they
say?
unbrainwashed him, it's like, I don't know if somebody that was, like, actually, like, literally
Yeah.
brainwashed by Nazis and tried to kill Captain America or whatever could, run you know what I mean?
Worse people have run for office. Worse people have
Well,
been
of
elected.
course. No, obviously. But I'm saying is, like, I think, like, I don't know if, like, people would,
If they would be a successful campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like most people I feel like knowing the American public, it would be pretty easy to convince them to vote
Maybe
for a
honestly, maybe
superhero.
getting brainwashed by Nazis would be, like, a positive thing for a lot of the American public. Maybe they would be like, "Wait, this is such a touching and powerful story." Wait,
Dude.
you
Oh,
know?
no. Yeah. No, I could definitely see
I think
that.
Kanye West would be really interested
Okay.
in Bucky Barnes congressman.
Yeah, Kanye. Still going strong, still.
It's, like, the catchiest song I've ever heard.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You've been singing
Yeah.
it in your room? You've been
Yeah, no, I
reciting
haven't.
the
I've been
lyrics?
singing every lyric in my room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in the car with the windows down, just, like, driving by
Yeah, pointing at
people.
people as I on the
Okay.
street.
Alright.
Um,
Yeah, so somehow he gets, like, elected to office, and then, like, the whole thing like, that lasts, like for, like, 4 days or something. I mean, I don't. I guess he doesn't get. I guess he got elected in like a different, maybe in like the TV show they did or whatever, like that like
Oh,
the
Captain
Captain America and the
America and the
Winter
Winter
Soldier.
Soldier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. Maybe that happened a while ago. But the point is, he hasn't been in office for very long, and then he just like decides he's like, I'm gonna be a superhero again because this shit's lame or something. Um, so
How do these people make money if they're superheroes?
maybe they just
How do they how do they
yeah,
buy
because they're pretty rich. Like they have like pretty luxurious, like
yeah. How do they get
Well,
Taco
It's funny.
Bell?
Iron Man was like a rich kind of like billionaire.
He was like a weapons dealer before
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but then some of these other people, they're just like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
Also,
so Captain America, like, he
what is
obviously
like the
gets subsidized,
2025 like
like, taxpayer
immigration
money.
policy on superheroes that came from another planet? You know, it's
Yeah,
like how does Donald Trump feel about Thor, for example? Like,
true.
can he
Yeah,
even just like be a
Thor
U.S.
was playing
citizen?
Fortnite, right, in Endgame. How did
Yeah, not
Thor
in
get
America
beat?
though. He was in like another country.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they probably had a more lax immigration policy
But, like,
over there.
Yelena
And
Belova,
she's like a yeah, she's got
how does she
a
pay for her
Soviet
Taco Bell?
background.
Yeah, how does she, how does
Yeah.
she go does she have a credit card that,
Well,
with,
she's
like,
also
US
like
currency
deeply
in it?
like she's like okay, so part of the story is that she's deeply undercover. She's like working for Julia Louis Dreyfus's character, who is also
Oh,
a
okay,
politician in this movie,
okay.
who's like the head of the CIA, and she sends Yelena on like these like secret missions to just like kill people pretty much or something for her.
Oh, I
So
see.
she's like a spy pretty much, working undercover. So I imagine uh the head of the CIA. I don't know what her name is in the movie, but Julia Louis Dreyfus's character, uh, Valentina is her name. Valentina, crazy name, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Just that would never be the name of the head of the CIA.
We love,
But
comic books.
yeah. Anyway, Valentina's probably given her the funds to have her own place or whatever,
Right,
in
okay, that makes
exchange
sense, that makes sense.
for doing missions. But yeah, so the movie is like that's how it's set up. Like she's doing all these missions, and then she has this like new mission where she has to go to this vault that Valentina has with a bunch of top secret files and destroy them because Valentina is they're trying to impeach her. They're like, you're a danger to the public, and they're having a hearing to impeach her. And she's like, okay, well, if they're gonna impeach me, we have to burn this entire like facility I own with all these top secret files because they if those files get into the wrong hands, then they're going to be able to impeach me because she's not a good person, you know,
Right,
Valentina. She's not cool. So,
right.
so she sends Florence Pugh there,
She's,
Elena.
like, the real villain of the movie.
Yeah, one might say. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, in fact, she actually has a relationship with the Void, which we'll talk about in a second. Um, but part of okay, actually, I could just explain that now. Pretty much what happens is she had like this program that she was doing back in the day where she was getting like civilians like rounding up people who are interested and like having them do like top secret operations on them to try to turn them into like impenetrable superheroes, you know, like superheroes that nobody could defeat. And that is how the guy who ends up turning into the Void gets made. Well, spoilers: the character Bob that they hinted at in the trailers
Right.
uh, is not just a person, but he is one of the people who was operated on during this mission, and so he
Is Bob
has
the Sentry? Is that
yes,
okay.
yes.
Yes.
So Sentry, like that project is like her project that she's doing to try to make like these like superhumans herself, and it's like it was a very unethical practice, which is why they had to cover it up. And they but then Bob breaks out with the rest of the superheroes. They go to this vault. Florence Pugh goes there, and all the other superheroes go there, and they're all tasked with killing each other because she wants to because they work for her, so she wants to uh, eliminate anything possible. So she sends them all there to die. But then Bob and the rest of the heroes all escape together instead. And Bob learns of his superpowers, and he later in the movie is recaptured by Julia Louis Dreyfus, who programs his like brain to listen to her. So she is like she has like control over him essentially. So she made the superhero so that she can not only not get impeached, but she could do whatever she wants because nobody can stop her because she has this like impenetrable superhero working for her. But then that superhero goes dark and turns into the void, and that's when he
Right.
starts. That's when he starts voiding people.
Yeah, he
Um,
starts
and
voiding people. The
and
void that voids people.
yeah, and you're not going to believe this. The void is a metaphor
Right.
because the
Right.
entire movie is not even really about superheroes or action. It's about people's battles with
With their
mental health.
mental health.
Um,
No.
and
And
so
there's is there visual language perhaps of Florence Pugh considering suicide in this film?
um
Um
I guess it's kind of hinted at, yeah.
okay.
Not like really,
It's
but
like
it's
her
like it's
standing on the building, right? Or
oh, sure, yeah, 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 but there's like it's mostly just her being like, "I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing," and like she wants to be like a public facing superhero, like somebody who actually helps people or whatever, and not doing all these like undercover missions where she just like kills people and stuff. And then there's a number of other people in the movie who are also like sad. Everybody's kind of like sad, and it's like superheroes have feelings too, and
superheroes
it's
have
not just
feelings
like
too. That should have
yeah,
been the
it's not
tagline for Thunderbolts. Wait.
Marvel. I'm looking for a paycheck, okay? I've got ideas. I can
Yo, Kevin Feige.
yeah.
Yeah.
We could make a joint Kevin alliance if you want a real
Oh,
writer on your team.
oh yes.
Um, anyway, so that is what the void is that all these people have to face their battles with mental health. They go into the void where they have to relive their worst trauma.
So the
And
void is kind of like therapy. Like kind of like a
yeah,
representation of therapy
I
in
guess
a
you could say
way.
that. Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's
interesting.
like
Okay. Okay.
you have to like face your demons, yeah. Which is
Yeah.
weird because then like they could just like come back to life after. Because what happens essentially, spoiler, the superheroes save the day, and so when they save the day, um, all these people just like that were voided just kind of like come back, like they're not actually dead when they get voided. But I don't know how that works physically, you know, because their bodies like turn into
Like
nothing.
ash. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
get
then they
Hiroshima's.
just like yeah, but then they just like come back, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's I mean, bro, they in Infinity War they got blipped and then they all just came back.
I guess that's true. You know what? This is the second, you know, it's weird that it happened twice kind of thing.
If you lived in the MCU and would you pretend like you got blipped?
Pretend,
Yeah, like you
like for
didn't?
attention.
Yeah, but like years afterwards, would you be like, "Yeah, I got blipped."
Oh, like just tell people, like when
Yeah,
your kids are asking about it, be like, yeah,
yeah,
I was flipped it.
yeah.
Um, no, I feel like it'd be cooler to be alive
I
because
mean, it
it'd
is
be
like 50-50, right? So it's like,
right because it'd be cooler to pitch it as like, no, they didn't get my ass.
yeah, they didn't get my
Because
ass.
like I
Yeah.
got the keep, but also like I guess everybody was pretty sad after the blip. Like everybody was like, my family like disappeared and shit.
Yeah,
It's
type
funny.
shit. Yeah, my wife and
I
half my
saw
kids disappeared type shit.
I saw one of our Twitter mutuals say this about this movie, which is like they posted the video, that old TikTok that I guess it was like a year ago or something that this TikTok was a thing and people were talking about it, but it was like that guy talking about how they should make like MCU movies that are just about like they're like normal character dramas instead of like being about superheroes where it's like this is just like like he was like, I would love to like just follow these people in their normal lives and stuff, and like they should just
And they
make
should bring in
movies about that.
Kogonada to direct them.
Yeah, and then it's like that's pretty much what Thunderbolts is that TikTok, which is funny. You know, and people like it, so I guess technically that TikTok was not wrong.
Yeah,
I guess
people
there's
like
an
this
appetite for this kind of thing.
so much. It's funny. I see some of our friends, okay, so Alex Coleman and Sammy J reacts.
Who both tend to like MCU movies as well.
Yes, but like they've specifically been saying this one thing that I think is so funny, where they're saying like we're gonna have to start having some really uncomfortable conversations when I say Thunderbolts is a top 10 MCU movie, and it's
Yeah,
like, what do you mean? What are you talking
it's probably
about?
not an
Like,
uncomfortable
what uncomfortable
conversation.
conversations are we gonna have about it being a top 10
Yeah.
MCU movie?
Also, it's like everybody seems to like it. So
Yeah,
what's the uncomfortable conversation? It seems like everybody feels the same way that you do.
10,
So
10 is so many.
yeah, there's not even 10 good ones.
There's not
There's
even
like
5 good ones.
Well, okay.
Anyways,
I wouldn't be that mean. I'm not even like listen, people pitch or people attack us often as like real MCU haters. And again, I don't like those movies, but like there's a handful of those movies where I'm like, this is pretty entertaining. Like I like these movies enough, you know? There's like
I
I
like
think
Multiverse of Madness.
I think there's like 8 movies that I would rewatch. Um Mostly like Spider-Man movies, Black
See,
Panther.
I don't even wanna watch those Spider-Man movies again.
I don't yeah, no, well, some I really it's weird. People have made fun of me for saying that the first one is my favorite. I'm like, the first one is the only one that feels like a superhero movie, you know? Like, then they just get, like, more ridiculous.
Right. Well, the
I feel that way
second
about
one
a
is
lot of
bad.
yeah, I feel that way about a lot of these MCU movies, though, is like a lot of the firsts in any character is given, uh,
The first
series are
Thor
like
movie's not that bad. The first Thor movie's fine.
yeah, it's
Natalie
fine. The
Portman's
first
in that
Iron
kid,
Man
man.
movie is cool, I guess. It's not like my favorite, but it's fine. I don't like the first Captain America movie. That one sucks balls. Um, but
There
you
were
know,
some filmmaking techniques used in that movie.
there were, there were. Um, Whether that matters, you know.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Listen, I don't know. Is there anything else you're curious about? Anything else you want to know about the movie?
Um, so spoilers, these are the Avengers now?
Right. Yes. Okay.
What
So
is
the
that about?
asterisk in the Thunderbolts title, a lot of people are like, "What does that mean?" And it's like, there's a couple things with Marvel where I like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a couple things where they do, and this is, and again, I don't want to sound like the most annoying, like pretentious person on the podcast again, but it's like, do you guys not do critical thinking with your brains sometimes?
Jesus Christ.
No, because it's like sometimes like they do things where it's like it's so all you have to do is like really think about a thing for like a second and like still like a lot of these fans get so well like this isn't quite the Avengers thing. The Avengers thing I guess is like cool and surprising or whatever. It's like, oh, these are the Avengers now, which is I mean kind of stupid also. It's funny me I feel like we could say this on the podcast, but me, you, and a friend of ours were talking about these people becoming the Avengers, and it's funny because we mentioned that like a lot of the setup of the new uh, movies, like this new era of the MCU, was these pretty diverse superheroes. You know, Shang
Yes.
Chi was a big deal,
Shang-Chi,
Miss
Miss
Marvel, like
Marvel.
all these characters who are like pretty diverse characters, and all these and this era of Marvel has not been well received. So they were like, what if we make a new movie? Call these guys the new Avengers, and then they're all white.
Yeah. Yeah.
White cast, and the new Avengers are just a group of white people.
Very
Kind of
silly,
crazy
right?
when you think about it like that. Like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Not to mention, and then this is the thing that I was getting at. In the end credit scene, the post credit scene, we see them hanging out in their new Avengers place and like they remodeled the Avengers Tower or whatever from the old
Yeah.
movies, and that's their new headquarters.
They got
And
the yeah, okay.
what they what?
They moved into the Avengers Tower?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy, okay.
And then they're like looking out into space, and it is revealed that they're looking at this spaceship, and then the spaceship turns over, and you see you're not going to believe this
Fantastic
the
Four?
Fantastic Four logo. And so
Oh.
that is what I'm referring to, where I'm like, are you guys like using your brains? Because I'm sitting in this theater with a bunch of people who just finished watching the Thunderbolts, watching the post credit scene, and the Fantastic Four logo pops up, and they all
You're like,
start cheering.
"Yeah!
And I'm like,
Yeah!"
what did you think? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they're already making the new Fantastic Four movie. Like, did you think that they weren't gonna show up in the other movie? Like, I'm like, what are you cheering for? I get that, like, this stuff is just exciting for them, but I'm also like, where is the excitement stemming from? It's like, I guess you could be excited about the fact that they're going to be in the movie, but I feel like part of excitement to me with movies like this, I'd imagine at least if I was like a big fan of these movies, is like the surprise. Like it's like a new piece of information is revealed to you, and then it's like, oh fuck, that's awesome. But it's like the Fantastic Four guy, like it's like no shit. Like they're making the new movie comes out like next month or something. Like it's like
Bro,
of
it's
course
Pedro Pascal.
yeah, it's
Like,
like, of
guys.
course they're gonna be in the Avengers or whatever the fuck. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, no, yeah, duh. But it's funny because it's like then I don't know what the specifics are, but it's really funny if what we're talking about is true, where it's like this is the new White Avengers, and then the people that they're like teaming up with is the Fantastic Four, who are also like besides Pedro Pascal, all all white people.
Yeah.
Um, it's silly. Yeah, I don't know because it's weird because it's like I like Shang Chi,
I was gonna
like
say,
it's like
I remember, like, I probably wouldn't like it very much now, but
no,
at the
yeah, but it's
time
like that's one of my favorite MCU
yeah,
movies,
when
which
it
is not
came
a
out, I was like, "This movie rocks."
yeah. Like I was like that's cool. Like I like Shang Chi, and I like Simu Liu has not been loved by the public more recently. Like people like to call him cringe and stuff
He's
and shit on him
washed
a
as
lot.
fuck,
Yeah,
actually.
he's super washed, but like him in character, I was like, that's a cool character. Like I'm like, yeah, it'd be fine if that was one of the Avengers. Like I like that guy.
Yeah.
I liked Miss Marvel too. I That's one of the things where I think it's like a huge misstep. I don't know what their plans are for her future or whatever. But the actress who plays her is her name Aman Vellani? Is that her name?
Oh, I
I
don't
think.
know.
Um,
I'm not an expert on this.
yeah, no, I mean, I guess you're not the right, but yeah, Aman Vellani, she like, and she's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. It's not like she's not going to be in the movies. I just wonder, like, in what capacity they're going to tie all these people in. Like, she should be kind of like one of the faces of the new Avengers because she's fun. Like, I'm like, not only is like, there's like, and again, all kind all kinds of societal factors play into why her character might have not been as well received as other Avengers, like we were just hinting at. I imagine some people are probably just fucking racist. If I had
Right.
to guess, some people are probably just racist and don't want her to be the face of the Avengers. But watching her movie, which was also a mediocre movie, I'm like, it's kind of contagious how much fun she's having. Like it's like that is like a person who like actually wants to be here, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
This is
yeah.
not just like we're paying an A-lister and they're doing this because they're getting paid $50 million. This is like person who really likes being a Marvel superhero. And it's like those are the kinds of people who I would probably want to be the face of my franchise. Um so I don't know. Again, I like every single person and their mother is going to be in a Avengers Doomsday or whatever. So I'm sure all these people will play a role, but in terms of like who they're gonna be calling the actual Avengers, I feel like it'll be more than just the Thunderbolts, but
Yeah.
also
It'll be everybody. Everybody
yeah,
in
it's like,
Marvel's
is
an Avenger
everybody
now.
just an Avenger? Or it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know how that works.
Everybody the Fantastic Four of the Avengers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's just an Avenger. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess we'll see when Avengers Doomsday comes out and we do a maybe only one of us will watch that movie and then
Yeah.
it'll probably be me. I mean, I'll probably be the one watching it. But yeah, that's Thunderbolts. It's fine. Again, it's like top 10 Marvel movie, like people are saying. Maybe. That's fine. Listen, and again, not super impressed by the writing. I know a lot of people, and I want to say some positive things before we wrap up, which is that like I do think it makes a couple of decisions, like I was saying, to go back to the roots of Marvel movies, not just to go back to the roots, but like a couple of decisions that more superhero movies should do, which is like me personally didn't love the writing approach to like how the mental health stuff is written. I'm like, it's not, when it's shown visually, I think it's actually pretty good. But in terms of like how it's written and talked about in the movie, whatever, it's fine. I do think it's cool that that is like the subject of the movie as opposed to like, here's the big bad, the world's ending and blah blah blah, and it's like the power of friendship or something. It's like at least they like, at least it's about something. I think it's cool. This is probably my favorite detail about this movie that almost none of the humor undercuts what the movie is about, which is
Right.
for the longest time now been the MCU's biggest problem. Is just like something bad happens and then cut to this dude in the corner, like, haha, funny joke, like, whatever, and then like the whole crowd laughs. It's fucking stupid. I hate that stuff. I think it's so lame. I do not think that the average moviegoer is a baby who can't process like real ideas and themes and like think about them without having like stupid humor thrown in. Like I think it is cool to, they're still jokes, but they're almost actually kind of funny because they exist where they're supposed to in the movie, where it's like this is a good moment for a joke. We're gonna put a joke in here. And then
Right.
when things are, don't call for a joke, they don't try to like be annoying about it, which I love. I think that is the best choice that the movie makes. Um and I think that, it's like it's cool that uh now in 2025, they finally sat down and were like, what if we're actually like serious about making a good Marvel movie? Like I'm not saying I love the movie, but it seems at least like the people behind it were like, okay, we probably should like, you know, take a little bit of a different approach to this. And that's what we're seeing with like the mental health angle and like abandoning this humor that I was talking about is that like they sat down and thought like, we can make good movies again, which is that's at least like, respectable.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think that's cool. So not my favorite movie, but that's Thunderbolts. And now we can talk about some news, which there is a lot of.
Okay.
Um, uh, as always, I want to remind everybody to share some feedback if you like listening to us talk about Thunderbolts and all that other stuff by liking, commenting, and subscribing on YouTube, by rating the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and by following us at all of our links. Reminder that to follow us on X or Twitter or whatever, because that is like the one platform we post on consistently where you could keep up with anything that's happening and also just like new episodes and stuff. Important that you're following us there. Anyway, news. Luca Guadagnino's Sergeant Rock movie is no longer moving forward at Warner Bros. And DC Films, though it is reported it could be revisited next summer, albeit with a probably different cast, I imagine. Um,
Yeah, crazy, crazy. This got canceled, right?
yeah,
Uh,
this is like a nuke. It's like seeing this on the timeline. I was like,
yeah.
whoa.
Well, there was that picture of Luca wearing the DC shirt. He was
Yeah,
wearing
not
the
just that. I
DC
mean, they were
superhero
like
shirt.
going into pre-production. Like they were
Yeah,
like they were Luca
this was
was
gonna be like,
working with the writers already. Like he was like, they were like doing
yeah,
all this stuff. They were planning to start shooting soon. Um,
crazy. I wonder. It's so there has to be a documentary about this era of DC, this James Gunn era of DC, because it's like
right.
it does feel kind of like a disaster a little bit. Um, in terms of like he's so ambitious, and I think that it's bad, right?
Yeah.
I think it's bad ambition. I mean, good. I'm happy that Luca is not making a James Gunn DC movie though. Hopefully, he'll make
Yeah.
a different. I mean, I'm sure that he'll make. Now
Well,
it's
now
full.
he's like it seems like the priority is his
It's not
American
American
Psycho
Psycho.
movie, which,
Interesting.
fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
that I can't wait to get some news about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that this is like on that subject, but have you seen the people talking about Patrick Schwarzenegger as a potential
Yeah, I
lead
saw
in the
that as
American Psycho movie?
like a
Obviously,
rumor.
because he kind of had this breakout this past couple months in his White Lotus role. And after watching him in the White Lotus, I was like, listen, this guy kind of won me over because the thing is, the show starts and you're like, this is the worst character. And for like 6 weeks, you're like, this is the worst character. And then at the end of the season, you're like, is this the best character?
Right.
And pretty much all of that came down to Patrick Schwarzenegger, where I was like, he did his thing. Like he's quite. There's a scene in the like the, at the in the finale where I'm like, this guy's good.
No, I think
Um,
that he is an interesting choice. He has such a
yeah,
insane smile, like
no,
ridiculous,
yeah,
like
yeah,
insane looking smile. I think he's an interesting choice.
yeah. I
Because the
think it's
thing
an
about
interesting choice
Austin
also because it's
Butler,
like
which people were saying, is that Austin Butler is too attractive.
right.
Like, not it's like he has to be attractive, but Austin Butler looks like a supermodel, you know?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I guess so does I don't know. I mean, like it's like when Christian Bale did it originally, like he looked, like not even just like his face, but like his body and everything. Like he was like so picture perfect. Like, but that is like the appeal of like even the early scenes in American Psycho, where it's like the point is that he looks picture perfect.
right.
So I don't know. No, I don't know. I think Patrick Schwarzenegger is an interesting
No,
angle
I think
because
that
it's
is
like
interesting.
it would be kind of that's like a pretty usual path, I guess, is like had his like kind of like TV breakout, and it's like let's see what this guy could do in a movie, and then if the movie goes well, which it probably would, considering Luca's directing it, it would be a big like this guy's a star type of thing. I hear he doesn't have the best politics. That was a big topic of conversation during the White Lotus, where people were like, "This guy kind of sucks," and I was like, "That kind of makes sense given the role that he's playing." That's
Sydney
probably
Sweeney voted for Donald Trump.
sure, yeah. Yeah. This is this is true. And I'm not even saying like I liked him in the White Lotus. I think he's
Yeah.
good. I'd like to see him in this role as well. Uh, yeah, but Sergeant Rock, dude. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.
No, wouldn't wanna be a fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
Good for
Sergeant
Luca
Rock.
though. I mean,
Full
thank
steam
God.
ahead to American Psycho. The
Yeah.
American Psycho.
Unless this like causes I hope this doesn't like I hope the idea of revisiting it in the future doesn't like cause complications for whatever Luca's working on, where it's like he does this American Psycho movie and then he like sees like that like another project is like where he wants to go and then it's like, "Oh, but now I'm doing Sergeant Rock again," or
Luca
something.
Guadagnino should be able to say I don't know.
Yeah.
He should be able to
He
do
could
whatever he wants.
he could do whatever he wants
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
God, isn't it I know you were waiting for this next headline. Uh, Charlie XCX is set to produce and star in the next film from prolific Japanese horror director Takashi Miike.
Well, so, uh, crazy, right? Um, but also what's crazy, that's not even the only Takashi Miike news.
Oh?
No,
I don't think I saw the other one.
um, fuck. How do you spell his name? Um,
Takashi and then Miike with it's Mike with 2 eyes.
oh, yeah, Mike with 2 eyes. Thank you. He's doing Bad Detective Tokyo as
Oh.
well. That's also starring like a different pop star.
Interesting. Well, it's funny because I was like looking at because I am somebody who has not
Well,
really gotten into Takashi Miike. I wanted to watch Audition, but like Ichi the Killer, I don't know if I'm ever really gonna watch. I mean, I'll probably watch it at some point, but like, and I was just like kind of reading like the descriptions for like the description on his page or whatever
yeah.
and one thing that it said was that in the years 2001 and 2002 alone he's credited with directing 15 productions in 2 years which is insane. So if that's the case then I was like thinking about that in relation to the Charlie XCX news and I don't know what his output looks like now but it's like I feel like he's just doing stuff all the time, and so if that's the
No,
case,
yeah, he's doing stuff all the
then the
time.
Charlie XCX thing is like not as big of a deal because that's just like one of many movies that he's probably going to make.
No, I think the Charlie XCX
Um,
thing is a big deal because here's the thing about Takashi Miike, he doesn't like he's not like a mainstream filmmaker, and
sure, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he's a popular name and he has some really big cult films, right?
yeah,
He has so what yeah, like Audition and
each of the killer, yeah,
Each of the Killer. Those are like really like big cult films that like people in America really like and
mm,
have like big cult followings. And then in Japan, he has like popular like mainstream films which are like his live action anime
yeah,
movies. Like he made like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure movie. He made a an Ace Attorney movie. Like those are like pop movies, like
mhm,
mainstream movies, right? So it's like he's not like he's not
no,
like
yeah,
West.
of course,
It's
yeah.
interesting. He's an
But
interesting
also,
guy.
it's like not surprising that she would like seek a director like that out, considering that we've seen the kinds of not to, the thing about all this Charlie XCX news that we report on the podcast every week is that so much of it is happening back to back to back, where it's like, when are we actually like we have to see her in
In something,
stuff
yeah,
first before we can understand what the because it's like it seems like now, and I know this isn't actually the number, but it seems like now over the past year we have reported like 50 Charlie XCX projects that are in the work, and it's like there's no way she could do all these things at the same time, but
no,
um
I think this Takashi Miike thing is cool though. I think it's
yeah.
cool. It's obviously that she's just a fan of his movies,
Right, that's what I was going to
like
say is that,
Audition
like,
and Each of the
based on
Killer
what
and
we
stuff.
know about her, like, it's like she does just like watching movies, and so it's not and not just, like, watching movies in the way that everybody likes watching movies, like, she is an actual, like, cinephile, like, she goes
Right.
out of her way to watch a lot of movies, and so it's not surprising that she would seek out a director like this, which, yeah, like you said, is cool, I guess. I mean, we still have to see, like, what she looks like as an actress. Um, but if she's any good at it, then that's a promising thing considering the people that she's willing to work with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean, it'll bring a lot of attention to
It
those
is
people.
interesting. One of our
Uh,
friends was like, did Takashi Miike even know who Charlie XCX was when she approached him? Like that is interesting.
yeah,
But
yeah,
he probably figured out very quickly who she was and got excited, right? Like
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Somebody probably gave him like a briefing. Like they were like, "This is a famous pop star," and it's
Yeah.
like, you should care about this person. Yeah, I don't know. Another piece of news that we talked about off pod for a second, or maybe we referenced it at the beginning of this episode. A new Miami Vice movie is in the works with Joseph Kosinski set to direct, and not included in the title of the news, but I found in the article, Dan Gilroy adapting the screenplay, brother of a screenwriter that we really like, Tony Gilroy, but who
Yeah,
is a
Dan
much less
Gilroy.
talented brother, who's most known for writing the screenplay for Nightcrawler, among
Yeah.
others. Um,
Um,
he also
uh,
wrote Velvet Buzzsaw with
which
Jake
is
Gyllenhaal.
terrible.
He's also, yeah,
Velvet
I mean,
Buzzsaw is a terrible
yeah,
script.
I mean, Nightcrawler, I've always mostly liked that movie. I know some people really hate that movie. I think it's good. I don't think it's like like a promising like best credit for a screenwriter to have. He wrote what was it? I think didn't he do
Oh, this other it's written by also, Eric Warren Singer, who he's, like,
oh,
one of
in
the
the article.
5 writers on Top Gun: Maverick. Like,
Okay, interesting. Because in the article it only listed Dan Gilroy, but I guess that's probably just because it's a name. Like it's a
right.
big name. But yeah, so new Miami Vice movie. Uh
What the fuck?
yeah, I don't
What the
know.
fuck? Well,
I
I
mean,
don't
listen,
know.
like Joseph Kosinski's cool. I like Top Gun Maverick. I feel like F1 will probably be
Yeah,
good.
F1 looks cool,
I,
people love Tron Legacy,
I
Oblivion's
guess
a cool head,
yeah,
Spiderhead is
I
some
guess
bullshit, but,
if
like
if someone was going, he feels, I guess, kind of like the guy to be doing Miami Vice. If they're, and to be fair, this could be so much worse. Like they could have gotten a way
well, I'm
worse
just like,
director.
why is there another
Yeah,
Miami
we
Vice
don't
movie?
need
Why are
it.
we IP mining Miami Vice?
Yeah, no, that's the strange
Um,
part. Because
that's so bizarre.
um, well, obviously there's the show, but then the Michael Mann movie is,
Well,
masterpiece.
The Michael Mann movie is so
Um,
iconic to such a big group of
yeah.
people, right?
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny because the article mentions the point, which is like true, obviously, that like the Michael Mann movie has gained a sort of cult following after release, but it was a pretty significant flop at the time. And so I guess the IP mining comes from the fact that like now that the cult following exists, you can make a Miami Vice that is not a flop, that is
Right.
like a successful box office hit.
I hate
Um,
business.
yeah,
I
it's like
hate
frustrating.
business.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't want to say I have no excitement for this. I think it's dumb because it's not going to be better than Michael Mann's Miami Vice. And so I'll probably just always resort to watching that.
No, it could be
But
cool. I love
yeah,
movies set
but
in
Joseph
Miami.
Kosinski's like, yeah,
I
okay,
it's
fair enough.
just no,
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's like
No, no,
one of the
I mean it's
best
true.
settings
Yeah.
for a movie, yeah.
Oh, it is, yeah. And Joseph Kosinski's like, I don't know. Like I said, like it could have just been like somebody awful. At least it's somebody who's like capable of working with specifically this material. Like I think he'd be pretty good with it. Um, so there's that. Uh that's the new Miami Vice movie. Another piece of news: Dev Patel to direct, write, and star in The Peasant, an adrenalized revenge thriller. The project is being described as having shades of Braveheart and John Wick, as well as notes of King Arthur, as it mashes up medieval knights with feudal India. Um, this was a popular blacklist screenplay, I believe, for a while, and originally was not supposed to take place in India. And then Dev Patel got the script and got them to rewrite it to feature
Okay.
India instead. I
That
mean, listen,
sounds really cool.
no, yeah, it sounds awesome, and also like us on the podcast have advocated for the fact that like we want Dev Patel to keep doing this thing. Like after Monkey Man, we want him to just like write,
Yeah, Monkey
direct, and
Man's a
star
good
in his
movie. Yeah.
movies. Like I would like to just keep seeing Dev Patel go down this path. So I'm really curious. Yeah, because it sounds odd. Like the premise genuinely sounds cool as fuck. like,
Yeah.
um, and
I think he could be a really interesting director.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I'm very excited by this idea. I mean, I really would have been excited for whatever he does next personally. Like I've just been a big fan of him for a while, and it's cool that he is getting to do this now. Um but yeah, this is a big deal.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's cool
it's
because
yeah.
it's like I mean, part of it, I saw somebody mention the fact that like with Monkey Man and then again with this movie is that like the Dev Patel's kind of origin story as it was with a lot of other notable British actors now, is like they, like the whole Skins route, where like all these people who were on Skins
Like Nicholas Holt
ended
and
up,
stuff.
yeah, like Nicholas
Yeah.
Hoult and all the all these people, Daniel Kaluuya, like they all became big names. And that's like a I like the casting process for Skins was obviously like finding kind of like unknown actors, and like Dev Patel is now just directing movies about like working class and poor people like in action films. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking sick. That's pretty cool that is like his approach to like the subject matter of his films. And I think this, on the story front, sounds even better than what Monkey Man was.
Mhm.
And so like the Monkey Man was had great action. Like it was like, I think a lot of people's criticisms of Monkey Man had to do, if anything, with like how ambitious he was, and like maybe how like parts of the story being messy or whatever. And it's like, if this is just a better story, then like he could only go up, because it's like he has a lot of the other stuff down clearly.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm curious to see what happens, but this is exciting.
No, that sounds really cool and a great incredible, like, 1300s, India.
Yeah, I mean
That's sick. That's
that's
sick.
sick. Yeah. Um the This next piece of news is something that we can it's not as much a piece of news as it is just like a thing that is happening that is exciting and that we can talk about, which is that following massive demand, Sinners added IMAX show times in a return to theaters for the week of May 15th to May 21st after it left IMAX for Thunderbolts.
Right.
And those added screenings sold out so quickly that they crashed AMC's website.
Yeah,
um
it's so
Unbelievable
very
love
crazy.
for
Yeah.
Sinners.
No, the
And not only is
demand.
there unbelievable love for Sinners, but there are other movies in theaters having successful runs at the same time
Yeah,
as Sinners,
yeah.
which
Like,
is just like,
Minecraft, yeah,
yeah, Minecraft was still playing. Obviously, you mentioned you saw Revenge of the Sith in
yeah.
theaters at the same time that
That was
Sinners was
making
still
money.
available, and that was making a bunch of money. Like, good time, it's like it was just funny because so much of the conversation of this year so far has been that the movies have been pretty underwhelming, but the desire for people to go to the movies is very much here this year, after like last year was, I guess, sort of in some ways a down year. I mean, we'll see what happens with the rest of the year, but this should be Hollywood wise a pretty profitable year, considering we still have Avatar at the end of the year. We have Mission Impossible in just a few weeks. We have not only Mission Impossible, but it's coming out the same week as Lilo and Stitch, which is probably going to make a fuck ton of money. Like Minecraft
Yeah.
already made a bunch of money. Sinners is doing great. Like all these movies are going to make a lot of money. Um, so good year in terms of like the box office recovering.
No, yeah, movies are coming
Uh,
back slowly, I guess. I think it's so I don't know if this is true, but I think it is true. Something about Sinners, because specifically what they added was the IMAX, like, 70 millimeter, like, film print showings, right?
mhm,
Uh, and those are kind of like what sold out instantly. What I think is interesting is that the the film prints for Sinners are not based off of the negatives of the actual film prints that they shot, like, because they shot with real film cameras, right? So the film prints that they're sending to the theaters are not based off of the negatives. What they are is that they scanned the movie in 4K, and then they like mastered the movie at in like digital 4K, and then
mhm.
the film prints are just like it's just a 4K scan printed onto film to be
Right.
projected. Which, and if you're listening to this, you might be like, okay, who cares, right? But Oppenheimer was not that. Oppenheimer was just like actually the negative. So like there was all this like, oh, like the IMAX 70 millimeter like print. It's such because it's 15 perf. It's so big that it's basically equivalent to kind of like 16K resolution. Uh, that's
Mhm.
not, for
Not the
Sinners.
case
It's like
with
it's just
Sinners.
a
Yeah.
cool thing, I guess, but you're just
Yeah.
watching the 4K projected on film.
Yeah. It's
It's
also just like, I think for a lot of people in this case,
it's just vibes and aura.
vibes and aura, but also like I think. the average moviegoer is probably just excited about there being a great movie that they could see on the biggest screen
No,
possible,
yeah, 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 yeah.
which, like, matters to a lot of people. I mean, that's just, like, such a fun event to go see it in this giant theater with an entire
Bro,
like, with a sold out
bro,
crowd.
I wish I could
Um,
see it at the Lincoln Square. That
I
would be
wish I could
so.
too, except that the tickets fucking sold out.
Have you seen that? Like, there's the one of the projectionists there. He like posts pictures from the projections booth, and like one of those pictures of during Sinners, from the projection booth looks so crazy. That screen is so big,
Yeah.
and the sold
It's
out
just
crowd is
crazy
just
because I
insane.
knew the movie was going to be pretty well liked, but it's funny because when it was the weekend it was coming out, the weekend we did a podcast about it,
Yeah.
I got my tickets to see it here in Jersey because I couldn't go to the city like before the podcast. So my plan was like I'll see it here on a Friday night and then the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, I could get tickets to go see it in the city. And I
Hmm.
saw it on that Friday night and then by the time I went to go buy tickets after I saw it, I was like, let me see it and like it. I saw it. I was like, this is great. I was like, let me go buy tickets that like, 2 days later or whatever, Saturday, Sunday. I was like, let me buy tickets to see this on like Wednesday, maybe. Just all sold out, you know? And since then, they have continued to be. And so it was like, I didn't know, I didn't know that that was going to be the case. I didn't know that every single screening was going to be packed full. And so if I had, I would have just bought those tickets before I saw it the first time. But I waited until after, and then it ended up being too late. And now it's like, well, probably won't see it in 70 because then again, as we're reporting right now, all of these tickets sold out immediately again. So it's like that's on me. I mean, I should have been more prepared, but
Yeah. No,
but I
I
also
wonder
just
if they'll
like
bring it back
initially didn't think it was going to be
again.
this big of a deal.
I
No, they
wonder if they'll
probably will. I feel
bring it
like it
back
could be
again
a
this year.
like a Halloween thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Oh.
it wouldn't surprise me because they re-release. And again, this is not. I don't think what's going to happen with Sinners, but because Oppenheimer won Best Picture, they re-released it again in 70 millimeter just this year. I went to see it with friend of the pod Sophie, and we watched Oppenheimer again like a year after. And
Yeah.
so like I don't think Sinners is going to win Best Picture. It's possible it gets
It's
nominated
possible.
though. And if it
It's
gets
possible it
nominated
wins.
and
It's
it's a
so
big
early. Who
enough,
feel like who
sure,
knows
sure.
what's
But
gonna
you know what I
happen?
mean? I'm saying
Yeah,
like
no, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oppenheimer was re-released because it won Best Picture, but it was
Yeah.
also re-released because it's an event movie that people want to see like in 70 millimeter. And
Mhm.
so Sinners being that big of an event movie, even if it's just like nominated for Best Picture, like let's say it's nominated for Best Picture, but the movie that wins is something of like Honora's scale, let's say, right? Like it would be very possible that they then around the Oscars next year just release Sinners in 70 millimeter again instead of releasing something like what like the equivalent of Honora, where it's like it's not it's the best picture winner, but it's not the big like event movie that everybody wants to watch on a giant screen. So I could see if it gets any awards attention at all if they wouldn't just like re-release it again. We'll see. But it's exciting. It's exciting that people love this movie that much. Or just love any movie this much. That's like not
No, it's
like
exciting
a
that
Marvel movie or
anybody
something.
the fact that I go on Twitter sometimes and I see like an account that I don't follow that is not like a movie account, right? Not a movie fan, just like a normal person with like a normal job, right? And they have a viral tweet talking about just like thinking about Cornbread's wife right now, and that's the whole tweet.
Right.
It's like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree. Uh Next piece of news, Angelina Jolie will star in Mark Forster's adaptation of Frederick Backman's Anxious People. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the book Anxious People by Frederick Backman was heavily recommended to me by a number of my friends. I own the book, I have not read it, but a lot
Hmm.
of people tell me that I would really like it. And the director, Mark Forster, has previously made World War Z, A Man Called Otto,
Oh
and
yeah, okay, okay,
Quantum of Solace,
right.
the James Bond movie. But so from a directing perspective, I don't know if it's like the best director to get, but the story for this
It's a
movie
big deal,
is pretty cool. It's a seemingly good book that I should read, and maybe I probably will now before the movie comes out. And it's Angelina Jolie. Big deal. Uh, I obviously loved her in Maria this past year. I That was one of my favorite performances of the year. Um, I don't know if that Anxious People calls for a Maria level performance,
right?
but this might be a big movie. I don't know. I mean, it's the guy who made World War Z, and
That was
one
a
of the
big
James
deal.
Bond movies, you
Yeah,
know,
that was
so
also a big deal. I mean, that one of the worst James Bond movies.
sure, yeah, but
Um,
yeah, no, it's pretty bad, but, I don't know, I'm curious, I should probably read that book. It's like the plot of the book is that, like, there's, like, a it's like an open house for, just like a normal open house, like, they're selling a home, and, like, all these people go to this open house, and then, like a bank robber or something, goes to the open house and, like, traps them all there or something, and they're, like, stuck in this place together, something along those lines, but it seems fun. I'm curious. This next piece of news is also from a director that is a interesting person to talk about, I guess, in terms of how what the quality of this project could be. Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz to star in Bunker from director Florian Zeller, who you may know as the director of The Father, but then also The
yeah,
Son.
and then also The
Um,
Son, the
the
fail
description for the
son.
movie the description for the movie, when an architect accepts a morally ambiguous project building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire, his wife begins to question their marriage after 17 years together.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, people are gonna like this movie a lot, I'll say it.
yeah, I was reading the description. I was like, this seems like it's of the
This movie is
time.
gonna
Um,
yeah, people are gonna fuck with this movie, bro.
Yeah. No, but it's so interesting because people hated the son and loved the father. And I like the father quite a bit, but it's like it's interesting because it's like, what's the read on this guy moving forward, you know? And I think it's probably, and again, maybe this is just me being a pessimist. I don't want to be mean, but I think it's probably more likely that he is a hack than he is like the next great director.
I have a
Um,
theory that The Father is actually a bad movie, that really misrepresents,
have you
the
seen The Father?
no, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, I think the theory that you have is probably worth entertaining. I would have to rewatch the movie to entertain it,
That's the thing.
but,
Well, because the whole thing
um,
about The Son is that, like, it misunderstands what depression is, right?
yeah,
And I think,
yeah,
like, that like, what are the chances that's, like, probably just true about, like, the father and what it's like, dementia or whatever, like
yeah,
Alzheimer's? Like,
Alzheimer's,
yeah.
yeah, which I don't think that's wrong. I think it probably does misrepresent Alzheimer's. I think it's also just, like, an effective movie.
Yeah, just makes you
Um,
feel something. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like, I
sad.
think which is, like, I mean, that's kind of the case of several good movies. There's plenty of movies that are like successful movies and aren't, accurate depictions of their subject matter.
Right. No, yes.
Um, so I
Yeah.
think it's like, I think it's very possible that if I rewatch The Father, I'd still think it's a good movie. I'm also a little bit biased. I love the performances. Like Olivia Colman's my favorite actress, and Anthony Hopkins, unbelievable in that movie. So, but it is I think very possible that this guy is just like for the rest of time going to be an annoying director, and maybe The Father was just kind of like he did it this one time kind of thing, and everybody liked it. But I don't know. It's like it's giving me vibes of like the especially with the description of this project is like, is this guy going to go down the same route as like that the dude that made Triangle of Sadness or whatever? What's his name?
Oh, fuck,
Like it
what's
feels
his
like
name?
that's the career he's like about to have, is like the Triangle of Sadness guy's career.
Yeah, in The
Um,
Square.
yeah, the square, yeah. Fuck, what's that guy's name?
Oh, Ruben Östlund.
Ruben Östlund, yes, yes. I don't know. I feel like that's a possibility, but that's his next movie. This next piece of news is like kind of still empty news because we don't know too many details, including a director. But Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock will reunite in an untitled romantic thriller being developed at Amazon MGM Studios. The reunite part is referring to their work together on Speed in the past, a movie that I have not seen. I think you have, right?
Yeah, Speed's good. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like that movie quite a bit. But yeah, we don't know a director for this project yet, and plot details are still mostly under wraps. So pretty much all we know is that they're making a romantic thriller with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock.
Cool.
Cool.
Jolly.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
if it's a good director, then I'm on board. It is the I forget the guy's name, but the producer of Speed is involved in this project, so that I guess worth noting. But yeah, no director attached yet. Next piece of news: Jeremy Allen White, Isabella Rossellini, and Mandy Patinkin. Patinkin? Patinkin? I don't know how you say his last name.
I don't know who that
Um,
is.
you do. Uh, to star in Jeremiah Zagar's live action slash stop motion
Oh, I do.
hybrid, The Painted Bride. Yeah, I told you. You did. Live action slash stop motion hybrid, The Painted Bride. When a crisis draws him back home, a man's world begins to collapse, expand, regress, and explode all around him. The director, Jeremy Zagar,
Hustle.
directed Hustle with Adam Sandler. He also directed this movie, We the Animals, which I have not seen, but was pretty critically acclaimed when it came out, was successful on the festival circuit, and people seem to mostly like it. He did that. He probably got his Netflix paycheck doing Hustle, which is another movie that I like. And now he is doing this movie, which is a live action stop motion hybrid, which is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And it's got some people in it,
No,
Isabella Rossellini, who you really like,
no,
and
she's
then
great.
Jeremy Allen White is the lead, so that's something.
I need a little bit more about this to say whether or not I'm excited, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I would like to see in trailer form what the live action stop motion hybrid looks like
Yeah.
before I determine what my feelings are. And we're on a little bit of a streak here too in terms of directors that we're talking about. Our final piece of news: Edward Berger to direct The Riders for A24 with Brad Pitt set to star. It follows a man whose life falls to pieces after his daughter returns to him at the airport without his wife.
Um, interesting. Brad Pitt trying to go on a bit of a run here. I don't know.
Yeah. Edward
Sean
Berger also on a
okay.
crazy run because he just had Conclave nominated for Best Picture. He has that Colin Farrell movie uh already, like, I don't know if they filmed it already or if they're going into production soon, but he has that movie, and now this movie has been announced with Brad Pitt uh
Yeah.
as the star. So bit of a run here for Edward Berger. I mean, he is just becoming one of the big guys in terms of like being an awards darling, but then also probably soon going to transition into just being one of the most
Most
like
famous.
known directors by
Yeah.
name.
I mean,
Yeah.
Conclave was such a ridiculous moment. Uh,
Yeah. And All Quiet on the Western Front won a bunch of Oscars, and I imagine this Colin Farrell movie he's making will be an awards movie. And then this Brad Pitt movie sounds a little bit like less of an
Taken.
awards
It feels like
movie.
Taken.
Yeah. So I don't know
Feels like a
if
Liam
that will,
Neeson movie.
but yeah, but he'll certainly.
What if
I mean,
Edward
he's
Berger
getting big stars for all of his movies, and they are so far well liked.
Yeah.
So,
What if Edward
uh,
Berger directed Taken 6?
what about who would be directing the other one? There's not five Taken
Yes, there
movies.
are. How many Taken movies are there?
I think there's just
Taken.
three.
Taken 2, Taken 3. Yeah.
I don't know where you got six from. I was like, I don't remember four and five coming out.
I just assumed there were a lot of them. I was shot in the dark.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think Liam Neeson's been a bit busy elsewhere. I don't know if he would have made five of them. That's kind of crazy.
I don't know.
But yeah, Edward Berger, dude's doing good for himself, I guess. I mean, listen, I liked Conclave.
No, I
I
like
like,
Conclave too. Conclave's good. I wish I
yeah,
mean, I wish it was better, but it's good.
yeah, I like Conclave. I think that Colin Farrell gambling movie that I was referring to, the name of which I'm still forgetting. I don't feel like looking it up, but that movie, I feel like I could like that movie. This Brad Pitt movie sounds less intriguing to me,
Yeah.
just in every way. But Colin Farrell gambling movie sounds like fun. So we'll see. Maybe Edward Berger could be like a cool 3.5 star director, which is fine. That's our last piece of news. Next week, as I mentioned earlier, episode 117, Doug and Owen will be talking about the Shrouds. Finally, we will not be pushing back the Shrouds another week.
We
You
were supposed to
will.
talk about the Shrouds 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. It keeps getting pushed back, but you know
Yeah.
what? This is giving people the chance to hopefully watch it. So if you're somebody who has watched or want to watch the Shrouds, you can do that, and then next week
The
we will be,
definitive conversation about the
yeah,
Shrouds will be
about the
happening next
Shrouds.
week.
Yes,
Yes.
that is correct. So we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.